Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is the Playbook of the Wealthy. My name is Dave Grant. My co-host is Heather Townsend, and this is another episode. We are talking about distributing inherited accounts. So whether you get accounts, property, whatever you get, we're going to tell you how to deal with it and what to look out for. In our podcast, it's split up into 4 sections. You get to know us personally and professionally. We dive into content, and then we answer questions based on the content that we just talked about. And then we bid farewell. Before we go on, please, you got some podcast tax to go through. So podcast tax is paid for by liking, commenting, subscribing, following, sharing the show, texting your mom, whatever you need to do to let
Giving
someone
Dave
know
a compliment in the comments. He doesn't get enough compliments.
Yes, Heather's going to keep saying this day after day of giving me compliments. But anyway, please give us something. And that way we know you're here, we know you're liking the content, and we can make more for you. We are a financial services podcast, so we're going to get through the disclaimer as quick as we can. We scour the earth. His name is Jordan, and here he is.
All opinions expressed by Dave Grant and Heather Townsend are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the views of their respective wealth management firms. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Nothing in this material constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Clients of Retirement Matters and Townsend Financial may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.
Thank you, Jordan. We're going into our first section. It is called something new every week. So it could be what's new. It could be, Heather, what's going on? I don't know. So Heather, professionally, what's going on in your world?
This week, I actually was asked to speak by my clients to their referral partners. So that was a big ask. I was actually quite nervous because, okay, they're my clients, but I also want to deliver really well for them because it's all their people that refer to them. But it was a very nice compliment. I really actually enjoy sharing my financial knowledge. It was actually about being financially fearless. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's about it. That's what my big week was. 100 people, I think I spoke in front of. It's a lot of people.
That is a lot. You just strolled in, talked about being fearless, strolled back out again?
I mean, I practiced and I had PowerPoint slides and all of that, but I've now public spoken enough now where I can do it just by PowerPoint slides. As to run through my agenda, I don't even have like papers or notes or anything when I go up. So I'm definitely improving a lot.
Look at you, getting ready for the main stage. Thousands of people.
Oh boy.
Keynote speaker.
I'd love it. All right, what's going on with you?
Me and the team are all cooking with behind the scenes stuff. So we're working on marketing, changing client reports to make them better. I'm doing more classes. Like, we're just getting better as to who we are so that when clients come around, we're a better version.
That's awesome. I love that.
Let's dive in. So we're talking about inherited assets. Let's kind of frame that because people inherit different things and the way you inherit it means different things, how it passes to you. So there's 3 real ways. So let's say that we'll throw a story out. Your aunt dies and she leaves you some stuff. Let's say you owned a house with her. If you and her are joint owners, that house passes by contract to you because you're the other owner. If she then left you an IRA, you're the beneficiary of that IRA. So because you're listed, you then get that asset. So now we're talking about contracts, leaving things as beneficiaries. The last thing is if she's got things left to you in her will, like jewelry or a car, then that's how that passes to you that way. Sometimes it goes through probate first and sometimes it doesn't. So various different ways to get assets sent to you.
Inherited accounts are interesting. One, I am actually going through this with a client right now. Sadly, the parent passed away and forgot to update the beneficiaries on the IRA. So it's only one of the kids, even though the will says split between the kids. And, the other sibling was like, oh, of course they'll split it. Like they'll just disclaim half and give me the rest per the will or whatever, right? But it is so shocking to see how money changes people, right? And what do you think that sibling's doing, Dave?
keeping every single penny.
And it's ruining the sibling relationship. It's so sad. I just see even my clients, it's not about the money, right? It's more about the fact that their sibling cares more about money than their relationship. I mean, he's so torn up about it. So I think it's a good reminder to our listeners, to really make sure you have your beneficiary designations match your wishes. It's very, very important.
All right. So some of these assets, the IRS gets their nose involved. So take us through some of those.
If you inherit a IRA, if the person you are inheriting the money from is not your spouse, most likely you will be subject to the 10-year, what do they call it? 10-year rule. I guess it's the 10-year rule. Yeah. You basically have to take it out by 10 years of the date of death of the person you are inheriting it. So let's say it's $1 million IRA. You, in 10 years, have to take that full $1 million out and pay ordinary income taxes on it. Now, we all know where I'm going to go with that. I do not want my clients bumping all those tax brackets in 10 years. So if they're in their earning years, which is just sadly happening, I have, I'd say 3 to 4 clients that are right now under the 10-year rule that we're watching. I'm taking a little bit out each year so that we're not bumping the tax brackets, right? And having to take this big whammy in 10 years. If it's a Roth IRA, it's different, right, Dave? So Roth IRA, still subject to the 10-year rule. It's just not taxable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. Some people, when they've got their Roth IRA, they're like, "Oh, I have no RMDs. Like, I don't have to take money out ever in my lifetime," forgetting that their heir, who they leave it to, does have an RMD, and that rule trips some people up.
That's really the IRA world. If you're a spouse inheriting it, I'd say it's a lot easier. You then can just take it out over your lifetime, based on your RMD date, right, Dave? So, now if you are inheriting it from someone older, what is the RMD age now? 73, but I think it's about to go to 75, I believe. So if they're at RMD age, they're already required, they've been taking out RMDs. So let's say it's your grandparents, they're in their 80s. You will be required to still take an RMD out over those 10 years and still take the full balance out in 10 years.
There's a lot of rules here.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into the details, but I think if you are inheriting an IRA, what I want to tell the listener, like our listeners, is there's strategy needed, and there's a lot of rules. If you inherited it before, I think it's 12/31/2019, then different rules apply.
It's always interesting when I love personal finance Reddit forums. So when I go on there and people are like, "Oh, I inherited, X accounts and, a cabin up in the woods. What are the taxes that I owe?" So people are still very confused on the tax situation of inheriting things. The rule of thumb is if you inherit something, there's no taxes on it. Like, you are not responsible for taxes. It's either going to be tax-free because it falls under the exemption, which is right around 14 million in 2025 per person. Or if it's over that, the estate will pay the taxes on it. And those are the rules. So you pretty much get everything that's given to you as a net number if there's been taxes paid on it, or it's just passing to you with no taxes owed at all. And that number goes up year on year. So it's really high. And if you're a married couple, then you get double taxes per person. So you're looking at 26 mil.
And then the IRA goes into the rules that we talked about. Most likely, most people will fall in the 10-year rule. And then if you inherit stock in just a regular brokerage account or real estate, it actually gets a step up in basis on date of death, right? So even if someone bought Apple for $100 and it's worth $300 today, I'm making up numbers right now, your cost basis becomes $300. So if you sell it right on the date of death, no taxes. It's crazy. It's amazing.
I actually have a client going through that now. Like, their husband, so they're a widow, husband has already passed, and he was given Caterpillar stock when he was working at Caterpillar for $0. He'd been working there for this whole career. And so they were in their 80s. Cost basis was close to zero or pennies. And if they had started to sell that, their tax bill is going to climb really fast. So we started talking about, okay, well, what's the goal of this? And they had enough money that they could live on by themselves. So we were saying, okay, well, let's parcel out that Caterpillar stock, as you're never going to need it. Let's just give it to your heirs. And as they take it, their cost basis is no longer your zero. It's the date of death value.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to save so much in taxes over their lifetime. It was crazy.
That's amazing. As long as the Caterpillar stock holds, right? Holds value. That's where it gets interesting, right? Yeah. But if they don't need it. One of my clients, I think this is a good example on strategy, especially with real estate. One of my clients, so it's like a parent and child situation. Okay. So the parent wanted to add the child as a joint owner on a rental property. And I was like, and we all worked together, and I was like, no, because then the child won't get the full step up in basis because they already own 50%. So, there's full trust and, within this family unit, but we have the parent owning 100% of that rental property so that when they do pass, the child will get the 100% step up in basis. Like, I stopped that midway, and it was weird. I had to tell the estate lawyer to stop that. I was like, this doesn't make sense from a tax step up in basis plan. So yeah, there's a lot of strategy when there's older parents going into this on how to pass inherited assets down to clients in the most, or to kids or your beneficiaries in the most tax efficient manner. Mm-hmm. Because, also inherited IRAs, it's who's going to have the higher tax rate.
Yeah.
Is it the kids or is it the parent? And where do you strategize with that?
I think that's a big problem that you don't see a lot of advisors in our space talk about, because the relationship is focused on the parent. There's no family relationships, because that's just either it's not done or it's not promoted to actually get the whole family involved. But yeah, if you've got a older parent who's in the 12% tax bracket and kid is in the 35% tax bracket and they pass an IRA, you've just created a tax bill that was completely unnecessary. Mm-hmm. You could have been doing Roth conversions for years with the parent, mm-hmm. keep that tax bill low and just give the child a Roth IRA for no taxes.
This is the value, though, of asking your clients, what do they want? What do they want to gift? Talking about the kids. That's the in-depth planning, right? That I know you and I love so much. But yeah, mm-hmm. there's a lot with inherited assets. And even though, we have this high estate exemption, and I think based on the current tax law that's on the floor, you just mentioned it earlier before we hopped on. What is it going to be? Like 15 million they're proposing flat?
15 million a person, yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's still a lot from like a tax perspective of what happens once you get it, once it's inherited. There's strategy. There's a lot of strategy there. And estate planners, I wouldn't say are strong in that. They're strong in keeping things out of probate. But from the tax perspective, I haven't found them really, there's not very few that are very strong in that.
It's more the compliance piece of, is everything legal and passing to the wishes of the person, versus can we look at this a different way? Which I guess some of them, that is out of their scope of work. Like their scope of work is making sure that it just flows. And then it would be nice if some more estate planners just took a step back and said, can we think about this differently? Let's pull in different people with a CPA and a planner, and let's try and design this a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah. So the other thing I do want to mention on this is probate, avoiding probate, again, like having the beneficiaries titles and in states. In Arizona, I think the limit is now 75,000. Anything over 75,000 has to go through probate, unless there's, it's TOD, POD on the bank accounts, right? By contract or beneficiary designations.
Yeah.
So that can actually be a pretty low limit if you just bought a $100,000 car. Fascinating, right?
It is low.
Yes.
Yeah, most states are low. I think Illinois is 100,000. Like it's a really low bar to push you into probate.
Yes. And also what I want to mention is states have their own estate tax, and they can be lower than federal. And I think that gets missed sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't think we want to go into too many of the details, because state taxes just change going over state lines. I know Illinois, I think it was 4 million. I haven't looked it up recently. Yeah, when you look at that as a state exemption versus federal, which is 14, if you just plan for the federal, you may trip yourself up on the state exemption. This is a lot of rules for us to keep in place. I can't imagine what it's like for people trying to do this by themselves. All right, let's get away from the technical. Let me pose a question to you.
Okay.
So if you have a client that walks in the door, they are 50, parents are 80, there could be a sizable estate coming to them. They are not entirely sure. How do you design a financial plan for that person?
I mean, I'm very open with my clients about this, and it's their risk tolerance, but I normally don't count money or inheritance unless we are positive, because I think it's too much of a risk, right? What if those 80-year-old parents get really sick and it actually costs them more money than they were planning? And now, the 50-year-old clients didn't save as much because they thought they'd get an extra 2 or 3 million, right? There's a big risk in that. I really have in-depth conversations with them, because there's also the downside too, right? They could oversave, give up on living someday, because this is my phone ringing. Sorry, because they don't, because of the inheritance could be coming. So I think this is a really interesting one where you got to have the conversation with your clients, the kids, and be like, are you comfortable really getting a true number from the parents and seeing how confident they are? And if they're not, then I don't count on it. I will put it in the retirement probability of success to show, okay, if you get 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, your probability of success goes up X. So they're aware. But I don't count on any money until it's for sure.
Yeah.
How about you?
It's going to be a weird answer. It depends. It depends on the number. Because if we're talking about 1 million and someone decides to stop saving and they don't get that million, that completely destroys their financial plan. Like, they will not have enough money. But if you're talking about an inheritance of 10 million, well, even if it goes down to 8, that's still a significant amount of money to inherit.
Yes.
And it does change your plan. So I don't know if, when you're talking about plans, simply we're talking about how much money you get, and does that mean you can retire the way you want to? That's kind of the base question. It then comes down to, okay, if we're talking about a lot of money, this is now generational planning, and we're talking about your children's children and how we should be planning for them. Because the question of do you have enough, that's already answered.
I have a client that I actually feel really bad for. Her parents are, I can only imagine, extremely wealthy by the little bit that she tells me what she's put together. We're talking multiple millions of dollars. And she will inherit some of it, but she's older and she's behind in retirement. And we're in that situation where we don't even know what to count on. I mean, we're not counting on it, but if she does inherit $3, $4, $5 million, that's a lot of stress she wouldn't have to have been under right now and could probably buy her dream house right now, right? Like, I feel like the parents do a disservice sometimes to kids to not share that.
Yeah, I think it's that question of, okay, if you are older, so if you are 70 plus and you're thinking about, well, how am I going to pass these assets down to my heirs? Just saying, okay, I'm going to just pass it all down when I die, I don't know if that's the right answer anymore. Because the amount of wealth that's been created in the last 20 years is substantial. So if you could pass that down earlier and help your children or help your grandchildren get a little bit further along in their financial life sooner, and you're able to see that, which is awesome, but it's going to help them versus just waiting until you die and then having to figure out, how do we deal with all of this money that we could have had earlier? It would have been nicer. It's a weird conversation to have, because the generation who is now 80 were the children of the Depression parents. And so every penny needs to be scrimped and saved and made to work really hard. So it's a tough mentality to get over.
That is. You know what else is interesting? Talking about, our favorite thing, how we like to talk about how forecasts majority of the time are wrong. Remember how boomers were supposed to be screwed in retirement? Like, that was talked about, right? Boomers were supposed to not have enough money. Boomers are, I think, the wealthiest retirement generation yet. they've done incredibly well. And it's all talked about in our financial, magazines, whatever, that there's this big wealth transfer happening or coming.
Mm-hmm. I think kind of wrapping this up, it's, depending on what asset you inherit is going to depend on what rules it flows by. And then that goes into what tax situation you find yourself in with this inherited asset and what you have to do with it. It gets very complicated very quickly. And sometimes you're on a clock with what you have to do. If you're talking about RMDs, or if you're talking about taking advantage of tax situations, you have to make a decision, and the right one, fairly quickly. So this isn't to be going in with and you just saying, "Oh, I'll look up the IRS rules and try and figure it out." Like, please don't go through this alone, because you're not just dealing with assets, you're dealing with grief at the same time. So have someone else deal with the heavy lifting, and you just kind of work through your emotions.
Agreed. Very well said.
All right, wrapping that up, we're going into our next section. It is called What Would You Do? These are longer questions than we've had in the past.
My parents, who are 70, I'm 40, pulled me aside and told me that they intend to leave me $5 million when they pass away. I'm an only child. How should this affect my current saving strategy, as that amount of money would fund my entire retirement? I max out all retirement accounts right now, and I'm on track to have 1.5 when I hit 65. Dave, this is easy.
Dun, dun, dun. Is it easy? I don't know. Because by the time these people pass away, they could be 95 or 100. That 5 million, could it be 5 million? Probably will be, just given growth and what they would need to spend.
I'd pressure test it, right, with the parents, wouldn't you? You'd be like, okay, 5 million, they have a financial planner and they're sure of that, right? Like, I'd pressure test it some.
Yeah. So I think, how should this affect your current saving strategy? I wouldn't change too much, but I'd also have a little bit of flexibility to say, if I want to do something cool and fun, go ahead and do it. Like, you're not going to feel the same way if you're 70 in 30 years and you have all this pile of money. Like, you're just going to enter those slow-go years of retirement. So I think it's a case of keep on track, keep being prudent with your money, but have some fun at the same time.
I'd definitely cut savings. I think I'd do more of a strategy. If we're sure on the 5 and that's all they need, because of inflation and all of it, I'd hedge some and probably do a 50-50 approach. Question 2. My mother, who was 65, passed away last year. I'm sorry, that's young. Her only asset was an IRA with $3 million for her living expenses. My sister and I will split the account 50-50. Okay, that helps. Is there anything that we need to watch out for? Oh, dun, 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 the whammies, let's go.
Uncle Sam. That's who you need to be watching out for.
Yeah.
So you're essentially getting $1.5 million IRA because it was your mom. You now have to withdraw this account out in 10 years. This is really just managing tax brackets. So if you're in a very high tax bracket, sorry, this is just going to get taxed to oblivion. The one thing that is interesting is if you are a business owner, you can start to manufacture your income to be, if you get a year that is really low, like you could accelerate expenses, you could push income out, all of those different things to manufacture really low income, then you could take a really large withdrawal from this IRA and still be in a reasonable tax bracket. If you're not a business owner, you don't have that luxury.
Or if you're not retiring soon, or, but it is true. It's like, if you have a year, what if someone loses their job for a year, their income's lower, whatever, you can strategically then pull more at that point. If not, and things are going to stay the same, I'd pull 1/10 every year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing really to watch out for, but you just got 10 years.
Yeah.
Question number 3. My single brother was very wealthy and amassed a collection of 12 luxury cars throughout his lifetime. In his will, he left me all the cars. I like the cars, but I'm not sure what to do with them. When researching online, I found that the cars could resell for over $2 million. Do I keep one in his memory, sell them all, store them, and see if they appreciate? I could use some of the money, but I'm not desperate right now.
I just thought of the car insurance on these cars
Yes.
and
And that's all we
maintaining
gave you was
12,
cars.
yeah, and maintaining 12 luxury cars. I mean, in Arizona, you have to pay storage for that. You can't leave them in the heat over the summer. You need AC units. Like the costs of keeping these just, that's what I'm thinking in my head, right? I actually think we're going to agree on this one. We'll see. I just sell them. I mean, appreciating cars, risky. I would definitely have the right person, though, sell them. I wouldn't try to sell them on my own. I'd involve, car specialists in this for sure. There's people who specialize in luxury car sales. Yeah. And also, if they did appreciate, then you're looking at capital gains tax, right? You get a step up in basis on when you inherit them. But yeah, I would. There's a cost to maintain cars. I would sell all of them.
You're selling all of them?
If there's one that this person loves and really enjoys and it's a happy memory and they're going to use it, then keep one, of course. But if they're just going to sit there, no, then I'd sell them and do something good with the money and in their honor, donate it, do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm keeping one or two. If it's out of 12. Just for some fun. And then sell the rest. Yeah.
I mean, I think it depends on what the 12 cars are. I really wish the person put in what the 12 cars were. My mind's going all over the place.
I'm going to keep the Ford Festiva and the Bugatti Veyron and just put them side by side and let people figure out how much money I have. And they'll be wrong every time. All right, we're going into the final section of our podcast. It's called Highlights. This is where we talk about our personal win of the week. All right, you're going first because you just sat upright. You perked up when we were going into highlights. You're ready to share. Go for it.
I'm stretching my abs from Pilates because they hurt, if you really wanted to know. I think I talked about this previously, but like we're really in the getting the house ready for the remodel. I mean, it's like you kind of got to move because you have to empty everything out of your kitchen. So it's unpacking boxes. So I'm getting excited. This is really going to happen. I can't believe it. We've only been talking about it for a year. And we are in the 2-week home stretch of the kitchen being demoed.
Exciting. No turning back now.
No. Oh, and it totally wrecked my cash flow plan, the tariffs, by the way. Because, the financial planner was like, okay, I'm going to buy these supplies at this point in the project and these supplies. But then the tariffs started happening. And so we had to accelerate buying everything in the beginning.
Oh. And then the tariffs aren't as bad as they were initially expecting them to be? Or are they?
I don't know, but it's too late. I bought all this stuff because 20% was very sizable on a remodel, and I was grateful to get ahead of it. I'm going to guess, though, that they still increased their prices. I mean, isn't that how it always happens?
Yeah, I've heard of some car dealers doing the preemptive tariff increase. Okay, when there's no tariffs, thanks a lot.
Prices don't go back down. So I was like, I need to just buy now. I don't want my remodel of all the supplies to be 20% higher. That would break my budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right. Movie review for you for my highlight of the week. So there was a movie that came out a while ago. It's called A Simple Favor. It's got Blake Lively.
I just watched this last night.
Did you watch the first one?
I watched the first one. My husband and I just watched the second one.
Okay, hold your thoughts. The first one I thought was a really good movie.
Agreed.
The second one I thought should never have been made. It was terrible.
Did you see the star reviews? I kind of knew going into it. It was like 2.5 stars. I mean, this is Blake Lively's outfits in the first one. That's me to a T. If I had a stylist, I would tell her to just dress me like Blake Lively in the first one. Love it. Women's suspenders. It's amazing. I don't know what happened. The second one was a fluff show. Why even try?
It was terrible. I mean, the acting was terrible. The story was terrible. The scenery was great. Shot in Italy. It was awesome. But I was on my phone half the time, and I hate people who are on their phone during movies because I'm like, why watch it? I was like, I can't do this. This is terrible. And I was watching it by myself to vet it for my wife because sometimes I have to do that because she doesn't like some movies if they have certain storylines. So I'm like, let me just watch it. Let's see if it's worth watching again. And I was like, no, I would rather watch the first one 7 times.
So you saved her. You saved her from it.
I did.
Wait,
She
what do you
got 2
mean?
hours of sleep.
Wait, what do you mean you have to pre-watch? Does she not like gore, or like what are you screening for?
She likes Hallmark movies and Hallmark movies that have gone to Netflix.
Oh, that is
That,
not
that
this. That is not this. This
no.
no.
That's her movie style. Like if there's blood, guts, guns, drugs, lying, cheating, she doesn't really like it.
She likes rom-coms.
Yes. That's her category. That and romance movies. All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. You can find us on whichever platform you listen to podcasts, and the video version of the show is on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you want to send an email to the show, because lots of you want to ask us questions, you can contact us at hello@playbookotw.com, and we'll see you next time.
Send the questions and toodles.